In this video, you will learn about the list concepts in Python. So actually, dealing with the list concept, let us know what are lists. So let us know initially about what are lists. So list is a sequence data type. It's a sequence data type and duplicates are allowed. And we can also say it contains dissimilar data type elements. Dissimilar data type elements. So here we can generally say a list can grow or shrink during the execution of program. For example, if you consider any list like 1, 2, 3, and you can add one element to it during the execution, or you can add any number of elements to this list, and you can also delete all these elements. So that is the advantage of the list, which means a list can grow or shrink during the execution of program. So that's why we will call this as dynamic array. And here the list were defined by writing comma separated elements within the square bracket. So that means whenever you want to represent the elements in the list, you can represent like this. That means a list is defined by writing comma separated elements. That means comma separated elements within the square brackets. And list can contains dissimilar data type elements. That means like you can take my list is equals to 1 95.95.80, and you can take false, and you can take any data type. That means it is not particular that you have to specify only all integer data types, only string data types. That is not at all. So that is the advantage, that list can store dissimilar data type elements. So here in list, the items can also be repeated. That means a list may contain duplicate items. For example, you can take my list is equals to 10, 20, 30, 40 and 10, 90, again 30. So the list can also store the duplicate elements. That means you can store a value any number of times. So duplicates are allowed in list. And you can also print. That means you can also repeat the elements by using the asterisk. Like for example, my list is equals to 10 asterisk 5. So this represents, this my list will contain 10 5 number of times. That means it will be stored like this. When you want to repeat the elements in the given list, we can use this asterisk and the number of times, so that it can store like this. For example, if you take 10, 20 and asterisk 5, so your list will be 10, 20, 10, 20. So like this 5 times your list will be taken. 5 times. So this means items in a list can be repeated. So now let us discuss accessing list elements. So accessing list elements. So how to access the elements in the list? The first way is by using the name of the list. By using the name of the list, you can print the total list. For example, if you take print my list, where your list contains some elements like 10, 20 and 30. So here your output will be 10, 20, 30. That means you can access the elements of the list by using the name of the list. That means print my list, you will get the list. So that is the first way. And second way is like strings, individual elements in a list. So individual elements in list can be accessed by using indices. That means coming to the concept of array, we will use the index to access the every element. So that is also applicable in list. So we will use the index in order to access the every individual element. So for example, for this particular list, we want to print some first element. Then what you have to do, print my list. So this index will be 0, where the index starts with 0, 1, 2. So my list 0. So your output will be 10. So like that you can access the elements in the list. And the another way is like strings, list can also be sliced. So sliced means you can obtain any portion of the list. That means you can obtain the sub part of the list. For example, you have this as a list. So here you can print my list of 0 to 3. That means this is included and this is excluded. Index 3 is. So that means your output will be index 0 is represents 10 and index 1 represents 20 and index 2 represents 30 and the 3 is excluded. Up to 3 will be excluded. That means 0, 1, 2, the indexed elements whatever is there, that will be in your output. So these are the 3 ways for accessing the list elements. One is using the name of the list and another is using indices and another is using slicing. So here you will learn looping in list. Whenever you want to process each item in list, so we should able to iterate through the list. For example, you have a list like my list is equals to, so you have this list. So whenever you want to process each item in the list, so we should be able to iterate through the list. So this can be done using the while loop or you can use for loop. So for example, I am taking this list and considering I is equals to 0 while I is less than length of, that is length function of my list, and print my list of I and I plus is equals to 1. So here what happens, so this is my list and I am considering I is equals to 0. So here 0 is less than my list length is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So my length of my list is 5. So 0 is less than 5, then it will print 10. Again I will be incremented, then I will become 1. So 1 is less than 5, then again it will print my list of 1, that is 20. So like that until you will get this total array 40 and 50. So this is the while loop, and using the for loop is more convenient, we can say. So for x in my list, print x, that means nothing but, so x is an item which is present in the my list in the sequential order. So first your x will be 10 and you will print 10, and again your x will be 20 and your output will be 20, and again 30. So like that you will print every item present in the list. So here while iterating through a list using the for loop, if you wish to keep the track of index, so we want to keep a track of index and as well as the elements, so we can use the built-in enumerate function for that. So here what we have to do is for index comma element in enumerate of my list, print index comma. So here what happens, so this will the store the index of the item, and this will store the item and it will print the index as well as the element. So you can get the index as 0 and element as 10. Next 1 is the index and element is 20. So like that you will get the output. So this is the usage of enumerate function. Whenever you want to keep the track of every individual item, you will use enumerate function. So using the enumerate function you can print the element and as well as the index. and I will show you all the execution part of the explanation in the continuation of this video.
So here I am explaining regarding the list. So we can define a list using square brackets. So what actually this represents, let's check using type. So print type of num. So this will give you the type list, because the square brackets indication represents that it is a list. So here you can observe class list. So this is the type of, that means it's a data type of list, you can say. And we also said that it contains some dissimilar data types. So let us store some different data types like 23 and okay, and print the list. Okay, so this is your list. That means it can contain dissimilar data type of elements, and it can also be repeated. We said that duplication is allowed, and it can also store repeated values. So let us check whether the duplication is allowed or not. In this only, I'll repeat 1. Okay, yeah, definitely the repetition is allowed, otherwise it will raise an error. So next, let me take another array, another list, sorry. Okay, and I want to repeat 10 comma 20 is 5 times. Okay, 4 times, let us say, and print it. Yeah, now you got that. See here, it is repeated 4 times. Once, second time, this is third time, and this is fourth time. So this is an easy way to repeat the elements multiple times. And now this is all about what is a list. That means it can be defined using square brackets, and it can contain dissimilar data type elements, and it can be repeated. Duplication is allowed in list. So now how to access? Let us know how to access the elements in the list. So first I said that you can access it using the name of the list. So let me take this as the list, and so the first way to access the list is using the name of the list. So print my list here, then you will get the list. So this is the one way to access, and another one is using the index like strings. So print my list of 2, then you will get 30 as the answer, because 0 index represents 10, index 1 represents 20, and index 2 represents 30. So your answer is 30. And the next one is like strings list can also be sliced. So here I am slicing like print my list of 0 to end. Okay, let me run this. Now you got the list. And in list we also having the negative indexing also. That means -1 represents the last element, that is 30. Let us run. Yeah, this is 30. So So here you can observe when we take this as the elements and slicing between 1 to 4. So here it starts from index 1 and ends up to only 3 because the 1 is included and the 4 is exclusive. So that means it will not consider 4. So here 1 represents 20 and 2 is 30 and 3 is 40, but 4 is not included, that is exclusive. So you will get the list of 20, 30 and 40. You can observe 20, 30, 40. Yeah, this is how to access the list elements in 3 ways I have explained. And another one is looping in list. So let's go with initially with for loop for x in my list. Print x. So this x is the element in the given iterable. Okay, so here list is the iterable. So every element it will take for this x. So initially it take 10, then again 20, then 30, like that. So now you got here 20, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So if you need in the same line you can use end and give some space here. You will get in single statement. Okay, this is the for loop. So looping in the list using for loop, and you can also use while loop here. So I'll show you that also. So initially take some I is equals to 0, and while I is less than, this len function will take the length of the my list, and here print my list of I and increment the value of I and just run it. Now you got the values, so that is elements of the list. So this is how we use looping in list. So in the next coming concept you will learn the list operations. I hope you got the concept about the list in Python.